Great food and the best live entertainment is what it's all about at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. Head to downtown Huntsville every Tuesday for karaoke on the only outdoor karaoke stage in North Alabama. Thursday night is the Valley's longest running and biggest bike night. Food and drink specials, giveaways, and live music on the patio. And the Furniture Factory menu is fully loaded with options from steaks to salads, plus a whole lot more. Featuring a weekday happy hour that starts at 3. 619 Meridian Street, downtown Huntsville, and online at FurnitureFactoryBarGrill.com.
Orthopedics. You're thinking bones, muscles, and joints, right? Well, what else comes to mind? Maybe your spine, therapy, or an arm cast? What about sports medicine? What do you think about when you hear that? Are you thinking about the largest orthopedic group in the state, caring for the most student athletes in North Alabama? Or about the fact that they are teamed up with the state's largest hospital-based sports medicine program to provide care to more schools in North Alabama than any other group? If you are, you have TOC Sports and Huntsville Hospital Sports Center on the brain. If you're not, you should, because Huntsville Hospital Sports Center and TOC Sports have partnered for more than 2 decades to establish a state-of-the-art team of certified athletic trainers and orthopedic specialists who successfully continue to meet and exceed the sports medicine needs of schools, athletes, coaches, and parents in our community. Committing to kids, committing to community, committing to care. That's Huntsville Hospital Sports Center and TOC Sports.
Since 1986, Full Moon Barbecue has been cooking quality meats low and slow over a hickory wood-fired pit. From ribs and wings, brisket, turkey, catfish, and sausage to the best butts in town. If you're planning a holiday or a birthday party, Full Moon has a large banquet room. And Full Moon is ready for your next catering or tailgate. Just call us and we'll take care of everything. 256-713-0070. Full Moon Barbecue on the Parkway next to Costco. The best little pork house in Alabama.
It's official. 47 years in a row, Ford F-150 is the best-selling truck in America. Come drive one and you'll see why. Hi, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you to kickstart the new year in a brand new F-150. Choose from nearly 200 F-150s, and we think you'll find just the right one. Right now, we have financing as low as 1.9% for up to 72 months on 2023 F-150s, and lease payments as low as $389 a month. That's a 36-month lease with $62.82 due at signing, 0 security deposit, just tax tag title, and your good credit. This offer ends January 31st. Call 539-9441 for complete details. At Woody Anderson Ford, we have nearly 50 2023 Explorers for you to choose from, too, with financing as low as 0.9% for up to 60 months. Plus, check out our over 40 24 Bronco Sports and a fresh truckload of the full-size Broncos that have just hit the ground. Come on over and let's get the new year rolling. Woody Anderson Ford, Jordan at Sparkman. Hope to see you soon.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
This is Paul Feinbaum. That'll do it for me today. Coming up next, The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
This hour is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, Alabama's F-150 Superstore. Welcome to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, 256-576-4977.
That's how I roll. And I'm not going to drink and drive anymore.
That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Wes and Steve.
We have made it to a Friday, boys and girls. Glad to have you along for the ride home here on a Friday. I am live here at the VBC, getting ready for some Havoc hockey here tonight. It's a sellout tonight, and they just announced it's a sellout for tomorrow night as the faithful Marksmen are in town from North Carolina, and that'll be a good matchup here this weekend, both tonight and tomorrow night. Fayetteville tied for first place in the SPHL. Havoc are in fifth place in the final weekend in the month of January before we flip that calendar next Thursday to February. But nonetheless, got some hockey action. Incidentally, you'll be able to hear that over on Zone 5 tonight. Start a little after 7 o'clock. Puck will drop. I've got the rundown here. Puck will drop at 7:14. So plan accordingly. It is Space Night as they're going through some of the motions right now, previewing Space Night here inside the VBC. It is also a big weekend in the National Football League as well, as it is NFC and AFC championship weekend, and we're going to preview a little bit of that tonight. Coming up in hour number 2, conversations that we had earlier in the week with Dave Archer, the former Falcon quarterback and member of the Atlanta Falcon radio network, of which we are an affiliate. Plus what you'll hear from Rick Neuheisel as well. That is also coming up in hour number 2. And over our airwaves tonight, around about 7:30-ish, you're going to hear Buckhorn basketball tonight as the Bucks are in action. A lot of teams trying to make up a lot of games that were missed from last week. One game that got moved was this one. This was supposed to take place last Friday night and got moved to this Friday night. So you go from the 19th to the 26th, but nonetheless, Buckhorn and Hazel Green square off tonight, and you'll be able to hear it over the airwaves. And if you're out and about, that will be on Zone 2. So be sure and download our app as well, as we have quite a bit to sift through, not only tonight with hockey and basketball, but some more basketball for you tomorrow afternoon as well. I'll be traveling along with Scott Tyson down to Livingston, Alabama, as UAH taking on West Alabama. You'll hear that over the air. That'll lead into Alabama basketball as the Crimson Tide play host to LSU tomorrow night. But we'll have UAH taking on West Alabama. And then coming up on Sunday, I imagine quite a few of us will be locked into the AFC and NFC championship games. Flying a solo today as Wes is out, but it's always fun to talk NFL with our next guest right out of the gate. He writes 4 columns and does 3 Utopia football podcasts, and sportsradio610.com is where you can find him. He is John McClain, who's kind enough to join me here on this Friday evening. How are you, John?
Steve, I'm doing great. What in the world did Wes do to get the day off?
Well, when you get the gold, you get to make the rules. So there you go.
Well, that makes sense. Tell Wes I said hello. I'm sorry I missed him.
I will. I will certainly pass that along. And I'm going to interviewer's choice. Which matchup are you really interested in more, AFC or NFC matchup?
I believe I'm more fired up about Baltimore and Kansas City. I watched Baltimore beat the Texans 34-10 in a divisional round. Kansas City went in and beat Buffalo at Orchard Park. You know, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. This game means so much to Lamar Jackson. He'd won only one playoff game in his career, 1-3, no divisional round victories till he beat the Texans. And if you want to be a great quarterback, you got to win in the playoffs. And he's going against one of the best in history. I tell you what, Steve, Houston has not had a team in an AFC championship game since the 1979 Oilers. And wow. I'm so envious of fans in Kansas City 6 years in a row. Chiefs are measured by Super Bowl wins that the greatest dynasties are. And Baltimore is the best team in the league, best record, led the league in rushing, points against, sacks. They were just incredible. I expect Baltimore to win. And truthfully, Steve, I do 18 weekly shows, and on every one of them before the season, I picked Baltimore to win the Super Bowl, not because I thought they were great, because I just wanted to be different.
Well, but there is a certain quote by a certain wrestler that I imagine is going to be quoted time in and time. I mean, you can't walk away from it. You can't be the man without beating the man. and that's certainly what the Ravens have in front of them this weekend.
That's a great point. All four of these teams can run the ball. Isaiah Pacheco is questionable for the Chiefs. Really ran with like a passion, with a meanness when he was beating Buffalo. Patrick Mahomes played great. Travis Kelce played great. Jason Kelsey put on a great show, and it was a fun game. And this one in Baltimore, boy, the Ravens, they've got such balance. Great young defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald, 36 years old. He has done a tremendous job in his 2 years as coordinator. And I think the only reason he wouldn't get a head coaching job is because everybody wants to hire him so quick. They don't want to wait. But he's been tremendous. But it's sure hard to pick against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes based on everything we know and have seen.
Yeah. Hey, albeit there is a history of success as well under Coach Harbaugh with the Ravens, but nonetheless, the most recent success is there in Kansas City, as we're talking to John McClain right now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. I can't help but want to go back to March when it seemed like Lamar and the Ravens were on a fast track for divorce, but no one. I remember the Falcons were seemingly a suitor. Then they walked away, and nothing came about from that offseason storyline between Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
Yeah, I don't think for a second that Lamar Jackson would have left Baltimore. They would have matched it. If they didn't match it, you've totally he wanted a contract like Deshaun Watson, $230 million guaranteed. Nobody else is going to do that. You would have to give up 2 number 1 picks. Your old salary cap would have been out of whack. Be new system for him. So Baltimore, he was never leaving. He's played really well. He was great against the Texans, especially running the ball. But Patrick Mahomes, of course, is the benchmark for all quarterbacks right now. This is a chance for Lamar Jackson. You want to be elite, you got to be the elite quarterbacks and the elite team, and I think they're going to do it, and Lamar's going to be a big reason. But I bet you Kansas City defense, which is playing really, really well, is not going to be like the Texans and let him run up the middle for 100 yards.
Is the best linebacker core in the NFL in Baltimore?
Well, considering you have Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen, both of them are tremendous players. Why the Bears like Roquan Smith, traded him is just the reason the Bears have been terrible. But, yeah, I think they do. The outside guys rush the passer, and they've been tremendous overall. They can miss players, injuries. It doesn't matter. But that's why I just think it's their time in the AFC. Now, if San Francisco wins, it's going to be hard for the Ravens to beat the 49ers twice. They embarrassed them in Santa Clara, and they're good. It's going to be hard to do it. But the most impressive stat to me, Steve, Baltimore has beaten 9 teams that finished with winning records by at least 14 points. That is the definition of domination.
Wow. I did not I have not read that. That is really impressive. And I mean, wow. That's so jumping over to the NFC with the Lions and 49ers, as you mentioned, the 49ers right there. And there is, I do wonder how many Lions fans we're going to see on Sunday, because they are certainly traveling. And we've seen it throughout the tail end of the regular season and really throughout the season. But it's been a fun story to follow from afar, John.
Unbelievable story, Steve. Now, you can get regular season tickets a whole lot easier than you can get playoff tickets. I thought there were going to be a lot of Browns fans at NRG Stadium when they hosted Cleveland and ended up beating them 45-14. But there were hardly any because the fans wouldn't sell their tickets. And I doubt seriously the 49ers are going to do it. And Detroit is such a great story because it's won 1 playoff game since 1957 when I was 5 years old. And Dan Campbell has been such a popular coach. You know, he grew up 10 minutes, or he was born 10 minutes outside my hometown in Waco, Texas. Then he went to high school 45 minutes from Waco. And then he went to College Station an hour from Waco in Texas A&M. And who doesn't like Dan Campbell? He's the personification of a football player, kind of like a throwback. If they pull an upset here, we're going to hear more about kneecaps, and we'll be sick of it by the Monday of Super Bowl week. And those long-suffering fans, you know, they've been great. It wouldn't bother me if Detroit got in, although I know Kyle Shanahan and a lot of his coaches and staff members came from Houston, where he coached 4 years. So they thought they were getting to the Super Bowl last year. And when you lose 3 quarterbacks, you're not going to the Super Bowl, and they didn't. Philadelphia did. And so I still think they'll win the game. Jared Goff, he's been in the Super Bowl, NFC Championship game. He's been to Levi's Stadium multiple times. But when he's on the road, his rating's 87. When he's at home, it's 104. And a stat that I've heard today, I'm going to be watching closely. The 49ers are the best team in the league at YAC, yards after the catch. They just are great at breaking tackles, running for yards. It's a big part of their offense. The Lions have missed the 5th most tackles in the league. So that's something to keep an eye on if they have a problem getting down Deebo Samuel and George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, because the 49ers have weapons at every level.
How much of Deebo do you think we're going to see?
He was full participation today, so I think we'll see full participation in the game. Don't know how much he'll get it because he's going to be a focus, but it's hard. You know, you want to stop Christian McCaffrey as a runner and receiver, then you got to stop Deebo Samuel as a receiver and a runner. Then you got a tight end. You got a great wide receiver. It's just hard to contain all those weapons.
Is Christian McCaffrey the MVP of this regular season this year?
No, he's going to be Offensive Player of the Year over Tyreek Hill. The way the voting is done, the official Associated Press, All-Pro Team, and awards is done after regular season because they don't want anybody having an advantage. It'll be him or Hill for Offensive Player of the Year, and I think it'll be McCaffrey. Maybe Hill, though. It's really close. The MVP will be Lamar Jackson. Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons or Max Crosby or T.J. Watt. I'm guessing it's going to be Myles Garrett for the first time.
So if you just had to rank these teams, these 4 teams, in terms of, and I don't mean a Vegas odds maker, just you personally, of teams you think they're going to hoist Lombardi 1 through 4, what would that list look like right now, John?
Baltimore first, San Francisco second, Kansas City third, Detroit fourth. I picked the 49ers to win by 7, and I picked the Ravens to win by 3.
Well, I was intrigued on how wider the point spread is there for San Francisco and Detroit. Do you think it could be a blowout in San Francisco or Santa Clara?
Well, it could be, but one of the things about the 49ers, their kicker's terrible. You know, so if it's good, you better score touchdowns. And with the Chiefs, you know, if you run the ball a lot, you generally don't have blowouts unless one team turns the ball over a lot because you utilize a lot of the plays and a lot of the clock. Ravens number 1 in rushing. The Chiefs are a good running team, not a great one. 49ers are close behind the Ravens as a running team. And then Detroit's got 2,000-yard rushers. So we have 4 teams that can run the football. And if you can run the football and not turn it over, it shouldn't be a blowout. You should stay within striking distance. And that's what Detroit would be, have an advantage there. But they're going outdoors. They've been great at home. And team's going to get if it is going to be a decisive victory, I think it would be the 49ers over the Lions.
So many coaching vacancies are starting to get filled up in the NFL, John, and there's only a couple left, and can't help but notice a certain guy whose resume doesn't look like others is still out there available. Any surprise that a certain former Patriot head coach is still available?
No, only one team's interviewed him, and that was Atlanta. And if you look at what's happened to Bill Belichick, his offense has fallen apart, couldn't get a quarterback. A lot of people are starting to think it wasn't the Patriot way, it was the Brady way. And his defense was still good, but his offense was awful, and his personnel decisions since Nick Caserio left him to come to Houston, a lot of them have been really bad. And to go to the Falcons, he'd have to he wants to play a 3-4. They play a 4-3. So you end up having to change everything. You don't do that overnight. It takes a couple of years. And if they were unable to get the quarterback, or if they did get a quarterback who was a rookie, he might take a couple of years. So I think they're – and also Rich McKay, the president, was a general manager of the Buccaneers. They won a Super Bowl. He's been with the Falcons 21 years. Terry Fontenot, GM, in his 4th season. And I'm guessing they didn't want Bill Belichick in there controlling every single thing like he did in New England. Now, maybe he said, I don't have to have that, but just his presence, his powerful personality, his Super Bowl rings, it just takes a special owner to want to do that. I think he'd be better to go in, and that is a good situation, but if I were him, I'd rather go into a situation like Washington, because he grew up in Annapolis. His daddy coached there forever, and he loves history, loves the military, and that would be good, but they haven't interviewed him. It looks like they're going to hire Ben Johnson, the Lions offensive coordinator. He interviewed here last year, and the McNair family said he was terrific. So I'm guessing he's going there. As far as the Seahawks, Dan Quinn could go back. There's talk about Mike Vrabel. That's a really good job. One that working with a good general manager, John Schneider. Don't know. Pete Carroll has an advisory role. You know, you don't want Pete looking over your shoulder if he even has to show up. Pete wanted to get interviews, and he put out feelers, but unless there was an interview we don't know about, he didn't get one.
Wow. You mentioned the 2021 NFL Head Coach of the Year, still looking for a landing spot. Is it maybe a tad bit more surprising that has Vrabel interviewed anywhere? I mean, yeah. I'm not as where has he interviewed, John?
He's interviewed Washington. He was either interviewed in Atlanta or he's going to Atlanta. He interviewed or has interviewed or will interview in Seattle. And there was one other that's been filled he interviewed with. He's got a lot of time left on his contract, so he can take it easy. He could go to TV. He could do just about anything he wanted to and then come back next year. There was a lot of talk, and people scoffed at it, that Bill Belichick, that Jerry Jones wanted Bill Belichick. And people say, oh, my God, they couldn't be together. Well, that's what they said about him and Bill Parcells, and they did. Yeah. And so if Mike McCarthy is not getting an extension, Jerry hadn't fired a coach since 2002 with Dave Campo. He's let their contracts expire. And so if McCarthy can't take them farther and he's out, maybe Jerry goes for Belichick next year because they got a lot of talent on that team, Steve, both sides of the ball. That's why they were such a huge disappointment.
Is the noise around Andy Reid real, or you think the possibility of him retiring after this postseason?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to retire. Andy's a coach. Most coaches don't retire on their own. He's not going to play golf, and eating cheeseburgers is not a full-time job. And so I don't see him walking away. Yeah, he's out like third in all-time wins. If it's important to him, stay. Keep coaching. As long as Mahomes is there, you're going to be a Super Bowl contender every season.
Maybe he could caddy for Nick Saban. I mean,
yeah, maybe he could caddy for Nick, but I think it'd be better with Nick caddying for him because I don't see Andy doing a lot of walking.
That's a very, very fair point. But when the NFL 100 came out and I saw Coach Belichick, a part of that broadcast, I would love to see him a bigger TV role. And I know his press conferences, a lot of people like to mock at him, but I mean, if a good question is asked to him, he'll give you a good answer. And I think he'd be great on television, John.
I think he'd be great, but he's not going to answer questions he don't want to answer. He wasn't going to answer anything about his team, his personnel, the opponent, the schedule, because he's from that old school that any morsel of information can be used against you. Now, behind the scenes, he's a really good talker. I served on the Centennial Pro Football Hall of Fame selection committee when we put in a big class, and there were like 8 of us from the regular Hall of Fame selection committee and people like Bill Belichick, John Madden, Carl Peterson, Gil Brandt, Dick LeBeau. It was Bill Poley and Ron Wolf. It was an honor, and we did conference calls all season on Friday, and Belichick was so good. He worked so hard on that committee, and then we met in Canton for 2 days to determine the Centennial class, and he was tremendous. I'd love to see Bill Belichick get some job that he could be comfortable with, in which people wouldn't be prying into him. He could he doesn't have a team to worry about, but he doesn't want to sit there and be answering questions about Tom Brady and get fired by the Kraft family. And that mutual parting of the ways is BS. And he likes to talk, but he likes to talk about others. And I do not see Bill Belichick being critical in any way of a player, team, coach, or owner of another team, especially if he's thinking about coming back.
Yeah. I did think it was interesting that there was already that plan. I know there for a minute, it feels like about 15 years ago, it was always the coach in waiting. The coach in waiting was all set up there, famously at a couple of schools there in Texas. But nonetheless, there was a coach in waiting there in New England, and it just got accelerated off of what has happened off the last 2 years.
Gerard Mayo has been with the organization 16 years as a player and a coach. I think 9 as a player. And I know everybody thought very highly of him. That's why anybody talking about Mike Vrabel and trading for Mike Vrabel, I didn't think that they would give up a pick to the Titans. Now, if they wanted Vrabel, he was fired, and they could have got him. But they wanted Mayo. And we had an idea, Steve, about what they thought about him when last year Carolina wanted to interview him for the head coaching job. And Bob Kraft stepped up, gave him a big contract. Now we find out that the contract included a clause that when Belichick was gone, he would replace him. And so that shows you what high hopes they have for him. But it's a tough job. You're going to be compared to one of the greatest coaches in history, and you're going to draft a quarterback up high in the first round. It's going to be compared to the greatest quarterback in history. It's a difficult situation, but it's much better for somebody that's been there and understands what's coming.
State of the NFL as a whole, now that we are going into championship weekend and at least reading about expansion and just it seems like there's a lot of moving parts in terms of getting this product to the UK or Mexico and branching out like we've seen other sports do it. There's no doubt the numbers and the passion that we all have here in this country for the NFL, but from a worldwide perspective, how real, and I know at least with Roger Goodell and his past with NFL Europe, it seems like he's a bit more passionate of getting out of the country than past commissioners.
Yeah, they're not going to expand anytime soon. They're not going to play a Super Bowl overseas. That's been floated. And but the reason they're doing what they're doing internationally is gambling. It used to be it was about merchandising, spreading the brand, getting people to buy their clothes, and And now it's all about gambling because the rest of the world is way ahead of us in gambling. You know, in England, you can gamble on like somebody's going to get hit walking across the street. And so they are supposedly making going to make $100 billion over 10 years in gambling. And that's why people want to pay billions of dollars for a franchise. And the popularity is widespread. You know, the NBA owns China, but they want to go to China. And they'll be, if they want to go, they're going. They're going to go to Brazil, playing at 100,000-seat soccer stadium. They had a great time in Germany, which didn't surprise me because back in the the World League, they had bigger crowds in Germany than anywhere. And they've been showing a Super Bowl in Germany forever. And so the popularity spreads. And it just means more money, and that's just what they need, Steve. These poor old NFL owners, if they don't get more money, they're going to the poorhouse.
Any chance we're ever going to see a Super Bowl in London or anywhere outside the States?
If they play Super Bowl in London, then they might as well just stay over there because it wouldn't be safe for them to come back to backstab the nation and do something like that. So absolutely not.
Interesting. Well, right there in your own backyard, it's been fun to follow D'Amico Ryans and his. It was fun to watch him play at Alabama, but what he did in the NFL as a player and now as a coach, boy, and just imagine had C.J. Stroud stayed healthy and not had the concussion issues.
Steve, I picked them to win, 6 games. They started 0-2, and I'm like, oh, my God, I should have picked them to win 4. And then they beat Jacksonville by 20, and Jacksonville beat Pittsburgh here by 24. But then they lose to Carolina on a field goal with no time left, lose to Atlanta on a field goal with no time left. But they had a great season. Nobody anticipated it. 1-1 in the playoffs. People here are so pumped about D'Amico, C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson Jr., who's been outstanding, and they've got some playmakers. They got a lot of money under the cap. They got the 23rd pick in the first round from Cleveland for Deshaun Watson. So things haven't been looking up like this in football for a long time.
So when are you making your trek out to Vegas, John?
I'm not going to Super Bowl. One of the things at my radio station, when I retired from the Houston Chronicle so I could start doing commercials for the radio station, and then I went to work for Mattress Mac for an online thing we did, Gallery Sports, for 10 months before he pulled the plug. I told him the only place I want to travel, the Combine and the league meetings. I don't care about the Super Bowl. I did 40-something of them, and if I never have to go to another one, I will never regret it. People are, how can you not? Everybody at my radio station's going to do shows all day, and they say, how can you pass up Vegas? I said, because I'm going there for the first 2 weeks of the NCAA tournament, and I'm not working. I'm just watching ball.
That's the time to go to Vegas. I mean,
it is.
You've scouted that out.
Year, Steve, first 2 rounds, it was spectacular.
Yeah, you and Barkley. Yeah, you and Sir Charles just hanging out. That needs to be a reality show, John.
Yeah, well, I had my wife with me, and I wasn't frequenting the same places that Chuck would be.
Oh, John, I always enjoy our visits, and it should be a fun weekend, bare minimum, and let's really hope there is not a fumble through the end zone, much like we saw last weekend. I'm really fearful that obscure rule on the touchback is do you think that rule needs to be looked at? I know they were looking at it, the Rules Committee.
I hate it. I've always hated it. I don't think if you fumble through the end zone, it should go to the opponent at the 20. If anything, penalize the team, but you shouldn't have to give up the ball in that situation. And the problem is all these things that happen in the playoffs and regular season, they're hot topics right now on talk shows, social media, but by the time the end of March rolls around and they have the league meetings where they decide on rules changes, the smoke is cleared. But I think that is one that has been kicked around for a long time because it's just ridiculous. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's changed.
Well, hot topics. Remember last year, it was the third-string quarterback when San Francisco went to Philadelphia. So that doesn't happen again. And so maybe we should take a closer look at the backup quarterback behind Brock Purdy if we want to go back just 1 year ago between the 49ers and Eagles last year. You were talking hot topics. Boy, that one was lit by a match right after that game.
It sure was, and it changed. Remember the one 2 years ago, overtime, great game between Mahomes and Allen, and Mahomes starts overtime with a touchdown drive.
Yes.
Allen doesn't get to touch the ball. They changed that too.
Nothing wrong with adapting, but fun to follow as always. And John, we always have fun talking to you, sir, and can't thank you enough for hopping on and talking a little NFL with us here this Friday afternoon.
Steve, it's my pleasure as always. Please give my best to Wes.
I will. Thank you, John. John McClain, who does 3 Utopia football podcasts and makes weekly appearances there on sportsradio610.com, but has covered the National Football League for over 4 decades. In fact, he's sneaking up on 5 decades covering the NFL. So there is your breakdown of championship weekend with the Baltimore Ravens and Kansas City Chiefs let me get this right, with the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Lions, and, of course, I mentioned the other matchup there with the Ravens and Chiefs going on this weekend. Let's take our first time out. We'll open it up to your phone calls on the other side here on a Friday edition of The Drive, 256-576-4977.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It's official. 47 years in a row, Ford F-150 is the best-selling truck in America. Come drive one, and you'll see why. Hi, Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, inviting you to kickstart the new year in a brand-new F-150. Choose from nearly 200 F-150s, and we think you'll find just the right one. Right now, we have financing as low as 1.9% for up to 72 months on 2023 F-150s, and lease payments as low as $389 a month. That's a 36-month lease with $6,282 due at signing, 0 security deposit, just tax tag title, and your good credit. This offer ends January 31st. Call 539-9441 for complete details. At Woody Anderson Ford, we have nearly 50 2023 Explorers for you to choose from, too, with financing as low as 0.9% for up to 60 months. Plus, check out our over 40 24 Bronco Sports and a fresh truckload of the full-size Broncos that have just hit the ground. Come on over and let's get the new year rolling. Woody Anderson Ford, Jordan at Sparkman. Hope to see you soon.
These days, saving time is important, and saving money is even more so. That's where Eagle Masonry and Insulation comes in. Over the years, Eagle has expanded their services to meet the needs of folks like you in our area. If your home needs updating or you have some projects that you just haven't gotten to, Eagle can help. They install shower doors, mirrors, shelving, blinds, bath hardware, and lots more. Call Eagle Masonry and Insulation today at 256-755-1556. Eagle saves you time, and Eagle saves you money.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time, or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, It's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
The End Zone Sports Bar has done it again. This time, they're bringing their jumbo wings, handcrafted burgers, Tex-Mex, and New York-style pizza to the Midtown District with their new location on McMurtry Drive Northwest opposite the Target Plaza. Tuesdays at the End Zone means half-price burgers, and Wednesday is $1 jumbo wings all day long. The End Zone also features Sunday ticket for all your NFL viewing. The newest End Zone Sports Bar in the Midtown District on McMurtry near the Target Plaza. Get in the End Zone.
Sitting here with Mark Kent of Southern Fidelity Mortgage Group of Huntsville. Mark, do you help pre-qualify people?
We pre-qualify people all the time, Wes. As a matter of fact, I love having them coming in here because when they come in and they pre-qualify, they can leave my office knowing exactly how much they can buy and have no worries.
Mark, tell me about your rates and pricing.
Well, Wes, this is something we're really, really proud of. Long story short is I love being able to provide the best pricing in town. Honestly, I cannot tell you the last time I lost a deal to either rate or pricing, something I'm very proud of.
So what all financing options do you have, Mark?
We do several different things. If you're purchasing a home, we can handle the purchase. If you're wanting to refinance your home, of course, rates are at the lowest they've been in the last 3 years. We do a lot of refinancing. If you're building a home, we can handle the entire process from breaking ground to the final close.
Do you sleep with your phone?
Wes, if you want to reach me, you can call me at my office phone, which is 256-562-1000. But always remember, I sleep with my cell phone at night. That number is 256-656-5936.
This segment of The Drive is brought to you by Woody Anderson Ford, located online at woodyAndersonFord.com with 2 locations, Hughes Road in Madison and Jordan Lane in Huntsville.
It's a Friday edition of The Drive. Steve Moulton flying a solo, sort of. Brian Temple back at the ranch.
Thank you very much.
I am here at the VBC getting ready for a little hockey action tonight. The Fayetteville Marksmen are in town for 2 here at the VBC. It's sold out here tonight. It's also sold out here tomorrow night. Austin Coletti will have the call here tomorrow night. You can hear both games tonight and tomorrow night on Zone 5. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can go to our website, 977ESPN.com. Click on channels, click on 5, and away you go. Or you could download our app and just search 977 ESPN in your Google Marketplace or your Apple Store, whichever you prefer and whichever device would require you to do so. 256-576-4977, the telephone number. Previewed championship weekend there with John McClain from Sports Radio 610. And the 2 matchups occurring on Sunday. For me, it goes back to you got to show me something, Baltimore, because Patrick Mahomes has proven what kind of an elite level player he is. If he really wants to chase down Brady, he cannot squander opportunities like this. So we'll see. And the thought of, at least when I'm reading about Isaiah Pacheco not completely healthy, could play a factor as well heading into this weekend's matchup, as that is the early game. The Chiefs and the Ravens will kick at, let's see here, I've got the official rundown here in front of me. It says 3:08 Eastern, so 2:08 Central, and that's on CBS, and that'll be followed by the Lions and 49ers. They have that set at 6:38 Eastern, so 5:38 Central, and that is on Fox, where you can find the games this weekend. 256-576-4977, the telephone number if you'd like to participate. And one thing John said that I thought was interesting of following a legend, and I know it was catered to the Patriots storyline, which is absolutely a storyline, but there is certainly that can be drawn as well down in Tuscaloosa of the kind of expectations that you may have for the new coach. Now, remember, Coach Saban did go 7-6 in his first year in Tuscaloosa, but with all the expectations, not only just for this season, for year one for Coach DeBoer, but down the line as well. And Coach DeBoer was on the Pat McAfee show earlier this week, and I did talk quite a bit about putting a staff together. Here is the Alabama head football coach.
Yeah, it's so critical, because it trickles down to, the vibe and the culture that you want in your program. It starts with your staff, and the players will bring it to life, but they have to have the buy-in and the people, and that we care truly about them. And you first and foremost, not just the football aspect of it. So I'd love to take more time, but in the days right now that we're in, mid to late January already, you don't have a lot of time. So fortunately, I got some people that I'm connected with and, feel really good about. And I think we've really done a really good job, building the coaching staff, the off-field staff. Many of the people here have done an awesome job. And so you can't help but look at them and, give them a chance and looking forward to that partnership with them.
Coach DeBoer was also asked about bringing that wide open offense that we have seen under Michael Penix at Washington and what we can expect out of we would assume a Jalen Milroe-led offense for Alabama here in 2024.
Yeah, I think that I certainly think we can. I think the heart and soul of it still is that you have to be physical and your offensive line has to be great. And our running back, Dylan Johnson, was right at the top of the conference rushing the football. And so when it came down to it, that's who we were, and we believed in it. And with the personnel we have here, there's some amazing running backs in this program. I've seen firsthand, who these guys are. And, the offensive line is always a huge piece of the success and where it all starts. So I think what we've done, you always tweak it here and there to fit your personnel. Ryan Grubb and our offensive staff, they will do exactly that.
That is Coach DeBoer on the Pat McAfee show from earlier in the week. As I'm on the air right now, so it's all good. 256-576-4977 is the telephone number if you'd like to participate. And it does kind of lent me to this question, leading down this road of fan bases with their expectations this season. And I think this is an interesting year for both Alabama and Auburn, and especially Auburn coming off of a very high recruiting class and year one in the rearview mirror. I do wonder what fan base is going to expect more out of their team coming up this fall. A new coach in Tuscaloosa, albeit with a cupboard that is certainly not bare, and a lot of talent down in Tuscaloosa with a returning quarterback, or an Auburn head coach that has gone through some changes to get his staff the way he wants it and start calling plays with a returning quarterback. So, at talent for talent, Auburn is still not there with Alabama. If you just look at the two rosters, they're not quite there yet, but you could make an argument. Auburn's certainly on the rise. I do wonder what kind of expectations that the Auburn fan base has for Coach Freeze in year two as opposed to Coach DeBoer for year one down in T-Town, although as soon as I say that out loud, at least in the back of my mind, I hear Gene Stallings, which is, if you don't think a game's a big game, try losing it. And we all know Alabama's schedule coming up. So, I mean, it's right out of the gate a very challenging schedule for Coach DeBoer, although you do have Western Kentucky and South Florida before your trip to Wisconsin, and then you play host to Georgia. So that's your first month as the head football coach in Tuscaloosa. So good luck with that. But there is a little bit of wiggle room with Western Kentucky and South Florida. You would like to believe this version of what we're going to see South Florida this year may look a little different than what Bama fans saw last year with the quarterback shuffle there with Ty Simpson. Didn't down in Florida, and chances are there's not going to be a lightning delay and weather delay like what we saw this past season between Alabama and South Florida. But something that I am definitely going to keep an eye on is you, the fan base out there, and what kind of expectations you have for your team, be it Auburn or Alabama. I think it's a real fascinating season to study from that standpoint of what you are expecting coming up here in 2024.
Hey, Steve, and I'm curious because, I'm waiting to hear from people what they want to do. I'm curious about the people from Alabama because, historically, look at the couple of things that had to happen after Coach Bryant left, before we got to Gene Stallings. And look at the couple of steps, along the way. Like, Alabama is like you get a great coach, just a iconic, always championship level coach, and then you got a couple of lean years until you get that next coach. Mm-hmm. And look at what we did before Nick Saban. And I know from my Alabama friends, and I'd love for them to call and talk to us, they kind of a wait and see with some of these people, Ray Perkins, and kind of see what's going on, how this guy's come out. We don't know anything about DeBoer. And plus, he's not an SEC area or SEC adjacent coach. Yeah, at least with Stallings, everybody kind of felt good about that because he basically was on riding the same rail that Bear Bryant was on. Yeah. So, he's also got the trash cans by the field at Texas A&M for practice. And, that's what they were expecting. So that was a little easier transition. But some of these others along the way, until you get to a Saban. And I know some very good friends that kind of stood back and said, I don't know about this Saban guy. Oh, look what he did at LSU. Yeah, he's good there, but I don't know. Look what he did in the NFL. That wasn't for him. Okay. So I'm going to talk.
Well, I remember that first year, Brian, in 2007. There was a lot of noise around the program after going 7-6, and a lot of I don't knows.
Yeah, but and I heard a couple of told you so's. And now I grew up in an Auburn household, so I guess we handle disappointment a little differently. But my mother, God rest her soul, the last good football coach Auburn had was Shug Jordan, and and she died in the wool when she moved to Huntsville. She called it Jordan Lane. So so it took a little bit, So and I mean, in a smaller scale, at Jacksonville State, what did we do when Coach Burgess left? We had a hard time, and even when Rich Rod came, we go, I don't know, but I mean, but he's set for that level at the NCAA to be good for us. So I still kind of wait and see, and I think DeBoer has himself very well staged to for a lot of Alabama fans at the end of the season go have a nice deep sigh and go, okay, all right, it's going to be all right.
Well, I do know this, that anybody that has a resume that features 124 games as a head coach and you've won 101 of them, or 104 of them rather, excuse me, chances are he probably knows how to coach ball.
I'd give that guy a shot.
I'm just saying. Yeah, he's won everywhere he's been, not just as a head coach, because I went back and took a look at his OC days, be it at Indiana or Southern Illinois, and they were constantly winners, just year in and year out. We do need to take our first time out, our second time out. Need to look at that clock a little closer. We'll be right back. Final call for phone calls on the other side.
You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
Have you ever turned your back on God? Have you ever absolutely known the right thing to do and just turned around and walked away in disobedience? I know that I have. Aren't we thankful for our great and merciful God who loves us and forgives us and remembers our sin no more? I'm so thankful that his mercies are fresh every day. I need that, and I suspect you do too. Hey, I'm John Dees, pastor of Cross Point Church, and if you're looking for a church home, come see us. We're smack dab across the street from the YMCA in Madison, and check us out at cpcfamily.org.
Are you tired of power outages disrupting your life? It's time for a Generac standby generator from Current Electrical. Storms may rage outside, but inside your family's powered up. So why choose Current Electrical for your generator needs? 1, we offer a wide range of models to suit every budgeted energy requirement. 2, our project managers handle every step of the process: power, gas, permitting, and inspections. 3, our certified technicians install your generator with precision, ensuring peace of mind. Don't wait for the next blackout. Call 256-880-1880 or visit us online at GenSuperstore.com.
It's time to get ready for game day. That means Alabama football and tailgating. Whether you're tailgating at home or at Bryant-Denny, visit Brooks & Collier for North Alabama's largest selection of premium grills and smokers like Big Green Egg, Blaze, Delta Heat, Memphis, and Traeger. Satisfy any palate with our wall of rubs and seasonings. For all your tailgating needs, visit Brooks & Collier at 813 Meridian Street or at brooksandcollier.com. An Alabama tradition for over 75 years. Roll Tide.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Work injuries happen in Alabama all the time, whether it's an accident at work, getting injured, lifting heavy objects, hurting your hands on a machine, or just performing the same movement over and over until your body breaks down. But when it happens, there's only one law firm to call in Alabama. That's Pond, Lehocky, Giordano. For personalized legal support, reach out to Pond Lehocky at 855-774-3838 or pondlehocky.com.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
You want the right specialist for your recovery. At SportsMed Orthopedic Surgery and Spine Center, we understand every body is different. Your muscles and bones are unique, as is your body. Our SportsMed specialists offer innovative treatments and minimally invasive procedures, allowing you to quickly return to the life you love. Locations in Huntsville, Madison, Athens, and Decatur, and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. Improving performance, improving lives.
Chapman Commercial Realty, your source for Alabama commercial real estate. Chapman Commercial Realty has the experience and expertise you're looking for when making commercial real estate decisions. If it's office space, retail space, investment property, or project development, Chapman Commercial Realty is your answer. Call Bill Chapman today at 256-656-8413. That's 256-656-8413. Or find them online at chapmancommercialrealty.com.
Each week, check out our latest zone deal online at 977ESPN.com.
I'm eating good food.
We are 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Final call for phone calls here on a Friday. Coming up next hour, going to re-rack some interviews we did earlier in the week with Rick Neuheisel, talking a little college football with him, as well as Dave Archer. We talked about the new Falcon hire and Raheem Morris, who actually was the coach before the coach and then after the coach. So he was the interim head coach, was Raheem Morris. Then Arthur Smith came in, and now it's Raheem Morris again for your Falcons timeline. You're welcome. Ray from Madison is on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. How are you, Ray?
Doing good. I was listening to you guys. I listen as often as I can. Anyway, I was just responding to your curiosity about, I guess, the Alabama fan base and the expectations with DeBoer. I personally think that I'm over 50, but so obviously I remember a lot of times before Saban. But I expect a lot of the younger fan base, they would maybe be the most unreasonable expectation. And I don't know how much of that will drive decisions in the future. Of course, as the saying goes, winning solves everything. But anyway, I honestly have a hard time seeing him. We don't know what's going to happen. A lot of people will be transferring after spring games on other programs, and probably Alabama have some more people leave too. I don't know, but we don't know what their record will be like. But, I mean, I'm not a gambler, but I would have to bet that DeBoer would do better in his first season than Saban did in his first season, not because he's a better coach, but because Nick Saban left Bama, even with all losses, in better shape. DeBoer, when he got to Washington, 29 people hit the transfer portal, and you can look at his record at Washington and what he did there, and it speaks for itself. So, and they weren't getting, I don't think they were getting the kind of players across the board like Oregon was and Texas A&M was, and I don't even know if they were getting the quality of players on offense that UCS was getting. Maybe they were, but my point is this. It seems like he did a lot with what he had. And, I think today is the day that, isn't it the day that Bear Bryant had passed on?
That's right. Yeah. I think 41 years ago, I believe it is.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Bear Bryant that always impressed me whenever I heard people talking about him, and the thing that seemed to be so constant is the fact that he was able to get the most out of his players. Yeah. And that seems like DeBoer might have that if he's getting, great quality out of lesser players. But I'll let you guys go. I know that the music's playing. So anyway, thank you for letting me chime in. I hope you have a great weekend.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate the phone call. Just think about this. Wrap your head around this. The last time the Alabama football program had a 3-loss season was 2010. It's 2024, folks. All right? So that factors into what I think Ray is talking about of maybe the younger generation not giving Coach DeBoer maybe as much leeway. Because, just to say that out loud is really remarkable. We'll be right back.
The state's largest orthopedic group is growing to meet the needs of the patients in our community. The Orthopedic Center has long been the most trusted name in orthopedics in North Alabama. So as our area continues on the fast track, so does the need for premier orthopedic care anywhere and anytime you need it. TOC is proud to announce the opening of our new locations in Albertville and Hampton Cove, along with the grand opening of our newest office in Decatur. These clinics will offer the same high-quality orthopedic care you have come to associate with TOC, with the convenience of being closer to home. As a patient, your time is your most precious asset, and we recognize that at TOC. That's why we are also proud to announce the opening of our urgent ortho clinics to handle those bumps and bruises that need prompt attention. These clinics are available to care for acute orthopedic injuries